so many people have an issue with, they're afraid to pull the trigger.
Yeah, why is it that most people don't produce anything significant in their life? I mean, it's an interesting question. I don't claim to have the answer, but I suspect in a lot of cases, it's just people who underestimate the amount of work you have to do, I guess, for lack of, or the number of attempts it takes before you're going to get it, right? They think like, oh, I'm going to try golf for the first time. And they go and they swing and they miss the ball, right? I've done this. I'm still at that
Yeah.
stage of golf, right? If I hit the ball, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm just not a golfer and just to give it up, right? Well, what, do you think Tiger Woods hit the ball the first time? Maybe he did, but I'm sure it didn't go in the hole.
Yeah. I'm sure it just kind of rolled down the, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's that classic thing, like where I'm sure you've seen this meme where it's like an iceberg, right? And you see this tiny little sliver sticking out of the water, and it's like what success looks like, right?
Yeah.
And then like that top of the iceberg is like all the accolades and all the, all the fame and all that stuff. And then it says what success really is. And then you see the whole iceberg underneath, and it's like the pyramid is like hard work, failure, keep trying, people telling you can't do it. It's all this stuff, right? So it's all that invisible stuff behind. And it's such a great analogy, because if you look at successful people, all you do see is the successes. You don't see all the failures. You don't see all the preparation. You don't see all the things they tried. Very rarely do you get to see that.
Yeah. Every once in a while, but you see, whether it's on, Success magazine, or you think, people like Branson is like, he runs 400 companies, and, he's uber rich, has his own island, and, he sits around, but they have no idea more often than not of all of the trials and the tribulations and the failures, and he just kept working through it. So I think there is a truth to what you're saying, is there are people, don't understand, they think it should be just a pill and you're successful, so they don't understand the work that goes into it. And B, I think that people are, there's an adage about you rise to the level of the 5 people you associate with the most, and that is and I believe that's really true. So when you're growing up, all your guys that you hang around with are people that are very comfortable. And as soon as you try and break out, and I talked about the crab analogy, but it's still the same, is you're now breaking away from the tribe, and that fear and uncertainty of taking that next step. Do I want to be ostracized? Do I want to make that? And the tribe will fight tooth and nail. What, you mean you're really going to try that? Or you're really going to put yourself out on YouTube? You're just going to be a failure. It's like, no, I'm going to do it. So you have to have that willpower. And I think people will default to comfortable, and comfortable is hanging around with the people you're around, and it's not striving yourself.
That's right. Growth. I feel like we've had this conversation before. Growth is never comfortable, right?
No.
It's interesting because I've been fascinated by this lately, because I think it's very rare that you get to see that kind of part of the iceberg that's below the water, in real life. Mm-hmm. But people are starting to do that. It's starting to become a trend where it's like, especially on YouTube, the most successful YouTuber out there is a guy named Mr. Beast. I'd never heard of him before.
Yeah. I never heard of him. I saw him on some show or something. Yeah.
Yeah. He's starting to do media now, right? So he's starting to become known. He's doing interviews. But like, apparently this guy is like the most, he gives away like millions of dollars every episode. That's his big thing now. He like just gives away money, right? Mm-hmm. And now there's all these documentaries on him that other YouTubers, because, YouTube's funny. Like people spot a trend and they all jump on the bandwagon, right? They're like, oh, Mr. Beast documentaries, that's like trending now. So everyone's making a Mr. Beast documentary and they're getting a lot of views out of it, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting. I've been watching a few of them, and it's like, he started making YouTube videos, when he was a teenager, like living with his parents, and they didn't know about it. And they were horrible, stupid videos. But he just like every day made a video, or every other day. He made like hundreds and thousands of these videos before he had any audience. Like when he got like 100 subscribers, it was like some huge moment, like years later, right? So today, he's like considered one of the most people with the most expertise on how to be a successful YouTube creator. Like he just knows it in and out. He's been doing it for years and years and years, and he's failed so many times, and now he's successful, right? And so he like advises other YouTubers who are also successful, but they want to get to his level of success on how to do it. And it's fascinating. You watch his early videos and they're just horrible. But they're the ones, and the thing is, if you look back and you see like where his breakthroughs were, you would have never predicted it, right? So like
Right.
one of his jumps in viewership was he counted to 100,000. He recorded himself counting to 100,000.
Really?
Now, if you said to somebody, you know, I have a channel that has like 20 subscribers and I'm going to count to 100,000, that's going to get me to 100 subscribers. They say you're a moron, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the point is, you don't know, and you don't need to know, and you shouldn't even try to know to an extent what's going to give you that breakthrough. That's a really difficult game to play and win. It's a much easier game to experiment, to lower the cost of failure so that you can experiment and you can run it. The way you find the right answer is by just trying many different things, and then the answer becomes apparent, right?
Mhm.
You stumble upon the answer, and then this is the other thing. You got to be willing to, when you stumble upon it, double down on that, right? And say,
Exactly.
okay, I've done all these experiments. Now I'm going to narrow my focus to this thing that worked and figure out
Yep.
why that worked. And you got to
Yeah.
keep doing that over and over and over again. And if you look at really successful people, Mr. Beast is an example of that. You know, probably Joe Rogan's an example of that. A bunch of, you know,
Mhm.
I'm sure someone told Joe Rogan a ton of times, like, these 3-hour podcasts are never going to take off. Nobody has
Right.
that attention span. Yet he's the most successful podcaster of all time right now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have thought that because I you know as we spoke earlier, I think people's attention spans today and you know, the TikTokers and whatnot is much shorter than that. But you know, he proved it wrong. He said, "Hey, I know
It
this
doesn't
is
mean
a
it's wrong, right? It just means that there's another audience, or you can create
yeah,
an audience, right? Out
oh
of
yeah,
where there wasn't one, right?
yeah,
Maybe there was never an audience for long form podcasts before he started doing it. That's completely possible.
good point, good point."
But now there's a ton of, like, Lex Friedman's a huge one, Jocko Willink. There's a bunch of great podcasts that are doing very well without talking for 3 hours.
Hmm.
But
You just
TikTok
sit
does
there.
very well too with their 10-second videos. So go figure.